Welcome back to DSR, and we're talking to the Bladesinger Wizard, so nothing else matters. We're getting into it. First up, what everybody wants to know, what I cared about first too was, is this good? And guys and gals and everybody in between, this is good. Not only is it good, it's better. Yes, the Bladesinger Wizard, much beloved, got better. I think everybody rest assured, this is worth it now. This book was worth it because this is the one we all cared about the most, or most of us, and they didn't mess it up, and it got better. Yeah. All right. Flavor text. Bladesinger Wizard. Wield weapon and wizardry in elegant tandem. Bladesingers master a tradition of wizardry that incorporates swordplay and dance. In combat, a Bladesinger uses intricate, elegant maneuvers that fend off harm and allow the Bladesinger to channel magic into devastating attacks and cunning defense. Many who have observed a Bladesinger at work remember the display as one of the more beautiful experiences in their life, a glorious dance accompanied by a singing blade. Bladesinging is associated with the ancient elven societies that first mastered the art and coined the term. Even today, most Bladesingers still hail from old elven realms, such as Myth Draenor, or from non-elven societies that share land and history with elves, such as the Silver Marches. Wherever they hail from, Bladesingers take their talents all across the realms to help common people and perform heroic deeds. Most communities greet the arrival of a Bladesinger as a good omen. I get chills just reading that. Okay, and I knew this flavor text was in there somewhere, and I had to go all the way back to the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide to find this flavor text, which I'm bummed that they didn't put this in a sidebar in this version because it has some cool flavor text about the weapons they would use and the name of those styles. The cat style used used swords. The bird style used hafted weapons. The snake style used like flail, chains, and whips. So this is some cool flavor text. I'm not going to read it; it's too much. Um, I'll leave it up on the screen, but it's in the Sword Coast Adventurers Guide. If you go back and look at the first printing of 5th edition's Bladesinger, which is that book, this flavor text is there if you want to go read it, and it just helps with some inspiration for you, okay, as you're building your Bladesinger. Let's get into mechanics, though. Level 3, Bladesong. As a bonus action, you invoke an elven magic called the Bladesong, provided you aren't wearing armor or using a shield. The Bladesong lasts for 1 minute and ends early if you have the incapacitated condition. If you don armor or a shield, or if you use 2 hands to make an attack with a weapon, you you can dismiss the Bladesong at any time, no action required. While the Bladesong is active, you gain the following benefits. You can invoke the Bladesong a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier, minimum of once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. You regain 1 expended use when you use arcane recovery. Nice. Right? Agility. You gain a bonus to your AC equal to your intelligence modifier, minimum of 1, and your speed increases by 10 feet. In addition, you have advantage on dexterity acrobatics checks. Blade work. Whenever you attack with a weapon with which you have proficiency, you can use your intelligence modifier for the attack and damage rolls instead of using strength or dexterity. This is what we always wanted. No more having to go 3 levels into artificer, battlesmith. You just get this. Yes. And focus. When you make a constitution saving throw to maintain concentration, you can add your intelligence modifier to the total. It was there before. Really good. Let's call out some highlights here. So there's a difference. The prior version actually gave you proficiency with light armor, and you could wear it while Bladesinging. Okay. This new version, no armor is allowed. You don't get the armor training, and I think that's a good trade-off for what else you're getting here. Okay. And yes, so that means we're going to rely on mage armor, which makes sense. We're a magical gish. We should have to spend some of our magical resources to make this all work well. I think that's a required trade-off. So I'm not mad about this at all. Plus, the fantasy of the Bladesinging Gish is moving quickly, being fast on the battlefield, being completely unencumbered, not wearing armor. So this leans into the fantasy anyway, I think. Second up, the number of uses changed again. In Sword Coast Adventures Guide, it was just 2 per short rest. In Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, on the right here, it was number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, which they're going away from in base class and subclass features completely. And now it's based on your intelligence modifier, minimum of once. However, and I didn't highlight this in red, you regain 1 use when you use arcane recovery, which is sweet, okay? Because start with 3, scaling up to 5 is going to feel like tight. Like you're going to be okay most of the time, but it's going to be a pinch, and you can't really afford to like it's a big deal if you lose it in the middle of a combat and you have to reuse it, right? You might just run out for the day. So the arcane, that additional use you get back with when you use arcane recovery, which is something you want to do anyway to get spell slots back. So if you can get a short rest, you get spell slots back, and you regain 1 use of Bladesong, which gives you just that little bit of breathing room that I think you really needed. So nailed it. They're they're killing it so far with this subclass. All right, blade work. This is the one we use intelligence for our attacks now. So you no longer have to feel like you have to scale up your dexterity and your intelligence to really get everything out of the mechanics of the Bladesinger. Now you can just go leave your dexterity at 16 if you want, focus on intelligence, and then do whatever else you want. Now you still benefit, your AC still benefits from dexterity, and you get skill check benefits from dexterity, but there's not nearly as much pressure as before. Before you just had to do it because your weapon attacks were based on it, right? So love it. Also at level 3, training in war and song. You gain proficiency with all martial weapons that don't have the two-handed or heavy property. You can use melee weapons with which you have proficiency as a spellcasting focus for your wizard spells. Yes. And you gain proficiency in one of the following skills of your choice: acrobatics, athletics, performance, or persuasion. So I was worried they were going to remove the performance because I think they did that, the performance proficiency. I think they did that in the UA. And I love skill proficiencies. I think they're way more than ribbons. They are huge role play vehicles. They're fun. I reward players for when they succeed on ability checks with experience. So I mean, it's dumb to only give experience for combat, which is why anyway, it's just dumb to give experience only for combat. Okay. So I give experience for ability checks, and I just love this. My little gishy heart, gishy shaped heart, is just singing right now. I'm so excited. The other thing, okay, we didn't get the light armor proficiency. Who cares? We got mage armor anyway. Okay, not a big deal. And now we gain proficiency with a bunch of melee weapons, martial melee weapons, instead of just one. Having just that one was really like it worked okay, but it was really pinched, and you couldn't use any other weapon. So you have like a rapier, which is probably the default one you would choose, and then you find like a really great scimitar, like a vicious scimitar, flame tongue scimitar, and you're like, well, I'm not proficient. This solves that, right? You got all these proficiencies, awesome. And then one new part that I just highlighted with yellow there, which is you can now just use the weapon as your spellcasting focus for wizard spells. So you no longer have to like make sure you're holding a wand or always have a hand free. Like you can now just be holding, I don't know, a wand of fireballs, which you're now allowed to use as your spell casting focus too. But anyway, you could dual wield, right? You can have 2 weapons and you're still good as far as, somatic and material components most of the time, right? You run into a problem if you don't have Warcaster. So, and the and the spell has a somatic component, but not a material component. I think very few DMs play with that. I think I'm the most strict and still play with some of those spell component rules, but most DMs don't even just ignore them and it doesn't matter. Even verbal ones, like I can cast guidance right in your face while we're having a social counter, and it doesn't matter. I don't allow that. They're going to react. Okay, that's beside the point. So another thumbs up. They made this better in every way, in all the ways we really needed. Especially even they gave you 4 choices now for your skill proficiency instead of just giving you one, which if you already had was now redundant. So now you get to choose something else. Just perfect. Love it. Okay. Level 6. This is the same. You get extra attack, and you can replace one of those with a casting of a wizard cantrip. Some of the wording and phrasing has changed a little bit, but you can cast a wizard cantrip that has a casting time of an action in place of one of those attacks. This was like the premier Gish ability anyway. They didn't mess it up, guys. It's good. Level 10, this is identical to Touch Cauldron of Everything as well, which is Song of Defense. When you take damage while your Bladesong is active, you can take a reaction to expend 1 spell slot and reduce the damage taken by an amount equal to 5 times the spell slot's level. I always thought this was like boring and disappointing. Like most of the time, just using a first level spell slot to cast Shield is probably better. Okay. To just take no damage, right? And if that doesn't work because you got crit, Silvery Barbs is better. And I know a lot of people don't allow it, and I call it the big ruckus when I said that I like it and you should allow it. But I do love Silvery Barbs. The more and more I see it in use, the more I think about it. I like it in my games. Not only do I allow it and tolerate it, I prefer it because I hate the shield spell. I mean, it's okay on wizards. I'm fine with shield spell on wizards. I hate everybody else getting the shield spell, and it's a selfish thing. It causes, encourages players to only be thinking about their character, whereas silvery barbs keeps players engaged during other people's turns for opportunities to help each other. Okay, I love silvery barbs. No one's going to change my mind. Now, I still think they could tweak it and refine it and debuff it a little bit, but I love it. Okay, 14, level 14, last level. So Song of Victory. This one they changed. After you cast a spell that has a casting time of an action, you can make one attack with a weapon as a bonus action. And before, it didn't work like that at all. You just got an additional bonus to your damage with your weapon attacks equal to your intelligence modifier. And this is the thing that really pressured you into, I got to max out my dex and max out my intelligence, which means you really only had room for one non-ASI feat. You could choose one, feat like Fey Touch that would round up, one, or Defensive Duelist, which I probably wouldn't get on this character. But anyway, something that gives you either +1 dexterity or +1 intelligence, rounded up, and then your other one's already even, and then you just spend every single feat you get to just keep boosting those by 2 to get both to 20 by the time you're level 16, and you just don't have room for anything else. So now this gives you, it relieves that pressure, gives you more flexibility, and I think, I haven't crunched the DPR numbers and made builds with this yet to do the DPR calculations, but I think it's comparable. I think you might actually come out ahead depending on the type of weapon you have. Like if you find a vicious rapier, which you should, right? You should be having rare level weapons by the time you're level 11, right? According to the player's handbook on their guidance for what kind of magic items you should have by each tier, which I think is the bare minimum. Come on, DMs. If they make it to level 11 and you've never given them a rare magic item, that's abuse. Okay, maybe that's too strong, but come on. Getting magic items is fun. We're playing a game for fun. Give them magic items. All right. Anyway, so we get back on track. So if you get a weapon that does extra damage dice, I think Song of Victory actually comes out ahead. And it's going to always be triggered, as far as I can tell, by your extra attack, your level 6 extra attack feature. Because if you cast a cantrip as part of that, it doesn't say you have to take the magic action. It just says you have to cast a spell that has the casting time of an action. And that is the requirement for the cantrip you cast as part of your extra attack feature. So you're going to trigger this every time automatically. You just always have a weapon attack and not an offhand weapon attack either. A full weapon attack as your bonus action every round. And that bonus action is nice. It's going to compete with other bonus actions you might be taking. Like some of the first things that popped in my head to, and yes, I got a soft gishy heart. I got a big old kind of role play chunk to my heart, and then there's like a big optimizer chunk to my heart. So it's hard to turn that off completely. So the first, so my first instincts for really optimizing this, I kind of feel dirty even saying that, would be doing something like taking Shadow Touch. So now we have Wrathful Smite, and we can now weaponize all of our spell slots that we are probably not going to be using by this level. We're probably not using most of them, right? You're probably going to fire off one big concentration spell and then just fight with your sword or whatever weapon you're using most of the time. So Wrathful Smite would allow you to weaponize that, but now it conflicts with this bonus action, and I'm not sure that's. First of all, I'm not even sure you're going to come out ahead on damage unless you're using like mid to high level spell slots, and feels like a big burn of spell slots to even come out ahead on damage. Now, Wrathful Smite has a control effect, which is nice. I don't know, maybe you'd use it sometimes anyway. The other idea I had, of course, is taking Fey Touch to get either Hunter's Mark or Hex, both of which feel gishy, feel cool, and when you're making 2 or 3 attacks, that stacks up. That's 2 or 3 extra d6 per round. Now, that doesn't conflict as much because you don't have to keep recasting it. But in my experience, the marked target dies almost every round before it's your turn again. So you almost have to every round spend your bonus action to move it. So I'm not even sure that's a great idea on this character. And you should probably, you're a high level wizard, you should probably be using your concentration not to boost your own DPR, unless it's an easy fight, right? If we're talking easy to trivial fight on the scale, yeah, go ahead, and you got like Hunter's Mark or Hex, yeah, just use that. And that's all you use for the whole fight because you guys are going to slaughter them anyway, right? You're not in any real danger. That's just going to speed it up. go ahead and have fun. Okay, cool. But if it's one of those, it's a series fight mid to hard, and you really need, and they're relying on you to do something that matters, like in a big way, which is probably a control effect, right? Or a big summon. One of those two things is probably what your party's expecting out of you as a wizard. And maybe you should talk with them about what you're, you know, what you want to be as a wizard. Maybe you don't want to be that. Kind of like Jester with Laura Bailey in season 2 of Critical Role, right? With Jester, where they're, the party just assume you're a cleric, and this is very common for people. Oh, you're a cleric, you're the healer. And she kind of had this moment where she's like, no, I'm a cleric, but I'm not a healer. I'm playing this way, which I loved. And by the way, everyone should be doing that. That's like a session 0, and you might need to do it as a session re-0 partway through playing, right? No, guys, I'm not playing that way. My character is like this, and I told you up front. Hopefully, if you didn't, make sure you're doing that going forward. You're telling everybody up front, this is my role that I'm playing. I'm a cleric, but I'm a frontliner. I'm a cleric or a druid, but I'm a tank, or whatever, right? Because people should be allowed to play what they want. You just need to discuss it as a group to make sure that it all works together. All right, that's another sidebar. So this is interesting. I'm not sure how you optimize this, and maybe you don't need to, and maybe that's a great thing actually, right? Because now you're just more free to explore other things and other ways to play this Bladesinger, right? Which is something I encourage and love, right? And that's why I don't like strictly thinking, as an optimizer, and I don't like that as much, because what it tends to result in is people build every class one way, and it's the same character every time, and because they were so focused on mechanics, again, nothing wrong with mechanics, it is a little bit, it does get boring to see the same character built over and over again. Okay, that gets boring for DMs, but that's not horrible. Where the optimizing instinct really gets me is if you're too focused on the mechanics, you ignore the role play of your character, and then they have no personality, and they're boring. And they're boring for you and me, right? I've had so many optimizers come up with like, I have this crazy build, blah, blah, and then they try to play it in a campaign, and after a few sessions, they're like, yeah, this character is boring. And I actually, tried talking about why is it boring? Like, well, it has no personality and no depth. And I'm like, yeah, because you built it based on this bag of mechanics. You ignored role play. So, and then I let them just make a new character, which is also, and then they're like, oh yeah, you're right. And then they just kind of take a little step back, create a character that's got some personality, and then optimize it, right? You can still optimize a character after it's got personality and identity, and that's okay. That's fine. So again, nothing wrong with optimizing. Just make sure you're not ignoring the role play aspects, okay? If you ignore the role play, that's bad. But also if you ignore the mechanics, that's bad, right? That's why I'm all about good enough on both. Good enough on both to have fun, and then we're in a good place. I did not plan to get into all of that, so let's wrap this up. Bladesinger, awesome. Level 10 ability, boring. I wish they'd done something a little more interesting with that, but it's fine. It's okay. It's the same as it was before. It didn't get any worse, didn't get any better. You probably still won't use it much. Awesome. I can't wait to make a Bladesinger. This was my very first character, very first character that I got to play as a player in a campaign. Was a Bladesinger. It was Curse of Strahd, played it all the way through. Her name was Akita. Yeah. She was from Athos, Dark Sun, of course. That's what I love. And loved it the whole time. So this would be even better. Hell yeah, everybody. Okay, thanks for watching. And if you don't have enough D&D in your life, you can find me on Discord in the link in the description, or on Start Playing Games. And let's connect and get more D&D in everyone's lives. Okay? Thanks for watching. See you next time.